Deuteronomy chapter 1. These are the words that Moses spoke to all Israel at the other side of the Jordan River in the Arabah desert. They were facing Suf between Paran, Tophel, Laban, Hazeroth, and Dizahab. From Mount Horeb to Kadesh Barnea, they had had a journey of 11 days through the mountain of Seir. But now it was the first day of the 11th month of the 40th year after they left Egypt, when Moses told the children of Israel all that Yahweh had commanded him regarding them. After defeating Sihon, the king of the Amorites, who lived in Heshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, who ruled in Ashtaroth and in Edrei, Moses began to explain this law. They were in the land of Moab, at the other side of Jordan. Moses said, "Yahweh our God spoke to us at Mount Horeb. You have stayed long enough at this mountain. Leave this place and go into the territory of the Amorites and its neighboring peoples in the Arabah, the mountains, the lowlands, the Negev, and the sea coast, into the land of Canaan and Lebanon, up to the great Euphrates River. Look, I offer you this land. You will take possession of it and live in the land which Yahweh swore to give to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to all their descendants. I said to you at that time, I alone cannot be responsible for all of you. Yahweh your God has multiplied you, and now you are as numerous as the stars in heaven. May Yahweh, the God of your fathers, increase you 1,000 times more and bless you just as he promised. But how can I alone resolve all your problems and disputes? Look for intelligent, keen-sighted, and experienced men from each of your tribes, and I will place them over the people." And you answered, "What you ask us to do is right." Thus I chose from among the heads of your tribes wise and experienced men, and placed them over you as leaders of the thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens, and also as secretaries for each tribe. And I gave this order to the judges: attend to the complaints of your brothers, and judge with justice the lawsuit between an Israelite and his brother, or between an Israelite and a foreigner who lives in your midst. Do not be influenced by anyone when you judge, but listen to the poor and the rich alike, to the powerful as well as the weak, and do not be afraid of anyone, because you act in the place of God. And if there arises a very difficult case for you, refer this to me, and I will attend to it. At that time, I established what you had to do. Finally, having left Horeb, we passed through that wide and terrible desert that we saw, on the way to the hill country of the Amorites, as Yahweh had commanded us. And arriving at Kadesh Barnea, I said to you, "We have come to the mountain of the Amorites, which Yahweh our God gives us. Look, Israel, at the land which Yahweh gives you. Take possession of that which was promised to your ancestors. Do not be afraid or discouraged." Then all of you gathered around me and said to me, "Better send some men before us to explore the land and map out the roads leading to the cities where we ought to go." That was a good suggestion. So I took 12 men from among you, one from each tribe, who set out and climbed the mountains on foot until they came to the valley of the grapevines. And once there, they took with them the fruits of the valley, and upon their return recounted to us what they had seen. They told us, "The land which Yahweh gives us is good land. Nevertheless, you did not want to go up into the mountains, but rebelled against the commands of Yahweh. And you began to murmur in your tents, 'Yahweh does not like us. He made us leave Egypt to turn us over to the Amorites, who in turn will kill us all. Where shall we go? The messengers have frightened us with what they told us. The people who live in the land are greater and taller than us. The cities are great and are fortified with high walls. We have seen giants there as in times past.' Then I said to you, 'Have no fear and do not be afraid of them. Yahweh who leads you will likewise fight for you as he did in Egypt. You have also seen what he did in the desert, where he carried you all the way, just as a father carries his son, until we came to this place. But still you would not believe Yahweh our God, who went before you in all your journeys, and has instructed you where to set up camp. By night he has shown you the way with fire, and by day with a cloud. And when Yahweh heard the rumblings of your complaints, he was angry, and he swore, 'Not one from this perverse generation will see the beautiful land which I swore to give to your ancestors, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. He shall see it, and I will give him and his children the land upon which he trod, because he has faithfully followed Yahweh.' Yahweh was angry with me as well because of your fault, and he said to me, 'Neither will you enter there, but your assistant Joshua, the son of Nun, will enter. Encourage him, because he will be the one to give Israel its inheritance. Your children will enter there. To them will I give the land, and they will possess it. Although you feared, they would become the prey of your enemies. But as for you, go back into the desert by the Red Sea.' As you answered me, 'We have sinned against Yahweh our God. Now we will go and fight as he has commanded us.' So each one took his weapons and thought it easy to climb the mountains. But Yahweh told me, 'Tell them not to go and fight, because I am not with them, or else they will be defeated by the enemy.' I told you this, but you did not listen. You disobeyed the order of Yahweh and went up to the mountains instead. Then the Amorites who live on those mountains came out to meet you. They struck you and pursued you like bees from Seir to Hormah. And you returned with much weeping in the presence of Yahweh, who did not want to hear you or listen to your voice. So you had to remain at Kadesh for many days, and you know how long it was." Deuteronomy chapter 2. We therefore turned back and set out towards the desert by the way leading to the Red Sea, as Yahweh had commanded me, and we walked around the mountains of Seir for a long time. Then Yahweh said to me, "You have been going around these mountains for a long time. Now go forth, give this command to the people. You are to pass through the territory of your brothers, the children of Esau, who live in Seir. They will be afraid of you, But be very careful that you do not attack them, because I will not give you even the parcel of land on which you stand. Know that I have given to Esau the mountains of Seir as a possession. You shall buy food and water from them with your silver. Think of all the blessings that Yahweh has bestowed on you in all our work, and how He has been present in your journey through the desert. Yahweh has been with you for 40 years, and never have you been in want. So we passed through the land of our brothers, the children of Esau, who live in Seir. We left the Arabah road that led to Elath and Esion Geber, and we took the road going into the desert of Moab. Then Yahweh said to me, Do not attack Moab or provoke them to fight, since I will not give you any of their land. Know that I have given Ar to the children of Lot as a possession. The Emim formerly lived there, a great and numerous people, and tall as the Anakim. And just like the Anakim, they were also known as giants, but the Moabites called them Emim. And the Horites also used to live in Seir, but the children of Esau drove them out, killed them, and settled in their place, as Israel did in the land they possessed and which Yahweh gave them. And now rise up and pass through the brook of Sered. We then went to the brook of Sered. We walked for 48 years from Kadesh Barnea until we crossed the brook, until the entire generation of the men old enough to fight had perished, just as Yahweh said. Even the hand of Yahweh was against them, dealing them their death in the camps until all of them perished. When finally all those who were old enough to fight died, Yahweh said to me, Today you will pass through the frontiers of Moab, facing the city of Ar, and you will meet these people. Do not attack or defy them, for I will not give you any of the land of the Ammonites. Know that I have given that land to the children of Lot. This land was also considered the land of the giants who formerly lived there and whom the Ammonites called Sumim. They were a great and numerous people, tall and of enormous stature, similar to the Anakim, but Yahweh destroyed them through the hand of the Ammonites, and in their place He made the Ammonites to dwell in the land. He did the same with all the people of Esau who dwell in Seir. They destroyed the Horites and took possession of their land up to this very day. He dealt in the same manner with the Abim who lived in the camps as far as Gaza. They were expelled by the Caphtorim, who killed them and occupied their place. Rise up and go to the brook of Arnon. Look, I give into your hands Sihon the Amorite, the king of Heshbon, and all his land. Begin right now to occupy his land and fight, and I, for my part, will begin to instill among all the peoples under heaven the dread and fear of you. They will tremble when they hear your name. They will tremble like a woman in childbirth, and they will lose courage when they face you. From the desert of Kedemoth, I sent messengers to Sihon, the king of Heshbon, with these words of peace. I wish to pass through your land, and I will go only by the road without turning aside either to the right or to the left. We ask you to sell us food for money that we may eat, and water that we may drink. And let us only pass through as the children of Esau who live in Seir, and the Moabites who dwell in Ar did for us, until we come to the Jordan and enter the land which Yahweh our God gives to us. But Sihon, the king of Heshbon, would not let us pass through his land, and Yahweh made him stubborn, so that our God might give him into our hands. And Yahweh said to me, You have to know that I have begun to give Sihon and his land over to you. Begin conquering his land. Then Sihon came out with all his men to meet us in battle at Jahaz. And Yahweh, our God, gave him over to us, and we defeated him together with his sons and all his men. At that time, we captured all their cities and pronounced an anathema over them, killing all their inhabitants, men, women, and children, without sparing anyone, except the animals which were part of the plunder of the cities you have occupied. From Aroer, the city at the edge of the brook of Arnon, up to Galad, there was neither a village nor a city which we did not capture. Yahweh our God gave everything over to us except the land of the Ammonites, which we did not touch, the banks of the river Jabbok, and the cities in the mountains, that is, all the places which Yahweh our God forbade us to take. Deuteronomy chapter 3. On turning back, we went up the way to Bashan. Og, the king of Bashan, and all his people came out to fight us in Edrei. Then Yahweh said to me, Do not be afraid, because I am giving him into your hands, together with his people and his land, that you may do to him what you did to Sihon, the Amorite king, who lived in Heshbon. And Yahweh gave Og, the king of Bashan, and all his people into our hands, and sparing no one, we killed everyone by the sword. We took possession of all their cities. There was not one of them that escaped us. We captured the 60 cities, the whole of the Argob region, the kingdom of Og in Bashan. All these were cities fortified with high walls, with gates and bars, besides the innumerable villages in the open fields. We completely destroyed them for the honor of Yahweh, killing all the people, as we had done with Sihon, the king of Heshbon. We wiped out all the cities, men, women, and children. The only things that we spared and kept for ourselves were the livestock and the plunder from the cities. We took possession of the land occupied by the 2 Amorite kings, the land beyond the Jordan, from the brook of Arnon up to the mount of Hermon. The Sidonians call Hermon Sirion, while the Amorites call it Senir. And we captured all the cities on the plateau and all the land of Galad and Bashan, as far as Salekah and Edrei, cities in the kingdom of Og in Bashan. Og, the king of Bashan, was the last survivor in the race of the giants. His iron bed, which is 4.5 meters long and 2 meters wide, can be seen in Rabbah, a city of the Ammonites. Then we took possession of that land. I gave to the tribes of Reuben and Gad half of the mountains of Gilead with their cities, from Aroer, situated at the edge of the brook of Arnon. And I gave to half of Manasseh's tribe the other half of the kingdom of Gilead, and the whole kingdom of Og, or Bashan, with the whole of the Argob region. The whole land of Bashan was called the land of the giants. Jair, a son of Manasseh, took all the territories of Argob up to the boundaries of Geshuri and Makati. And he gave his name to these cities, which until today are called villages of Jair. I gave part of Gilead to Machir, and to the tribes of Reuben and Gad I gave the territory from Gilead up to the brook of Arnon. The boundary lies halfway along the brook, and up to the river Jabbok, the boundary of the territory of the sons of Ammon. It is bounded by the Arabah in the west, and in the east by the Jordan, from Kinnereth up to the sea in the desert, known as the Salt Sea, at the foot of Mount Pisgah. Then I gave you these orders. Yahweh our God has given you this land to own, but only your women, your children, and your livestock, your numerous livestock, will remain in the cities which I have given you. All the strong men will go armed ahead of their Israelite brothers, until Yahweh gives them a place where they can rest, as He has given you. And they too possess the land which I will give you at the other side of the Jordan. Then each one of you will return to his own inheritance, which I have given you. I also gave the following order to Joshua. You have seen with your own eyes what Yahweh has done with those two kings, and He will do the same to the kingdoms where you shall go. Do not be afraid, because Yahweh will fight for you. Then I asked Yahweh, Yahweh, my Lord, you have begun to manifest your greatness and the power of your hand. For what God in the heavens and on the earth can do such works and deeds as you have done? Do let me go and see that splendid land at the other side of the Jordan, those mountains without comparison, and Lebanon too. But because of your fault, Yahweh was angry with me and did not hear me. And Yahweh said to me, It is enough, speak no more of this to me, but climb to the top of the Mount Pisgah, and from there look to the west and to the north, to the south and to the east. You shall see the land, but you shall not cross over the Jordan. Give your orders to Joshua, encourage him and strengthen him, because he will be the one to bring this people across and distribute to them the land which you see. We then remained in the valley opposite Beth Peor. Deuteronomy chapter 4. And now, Israel, listen to the norms and laws which I teach, that you may put them into practice. And you will live and enter and take possession of the land which Yahweh, the God of your fathers, gives you. Do not add anything to what I command you, nor take anything away from it, but keep the commandments of Yahweh your God, as I command you. You have seen with your own eyes what Yahweh has done with Baal Peor, and with those who served him. Yahweh has destroyed them, but you who have been faithful to Yahweh your God are all alive today. See, as Yahweh my God ordered me, I am teaching you the norms and the laws, that you may put them into practice in the land you are going to enter and have as your own. If you observe and practice them, other peoples will regard you as wise and intelligent. When they come to know of all these laws, they will say, There is no people as wise and as intelligent as this great nation. For in truth, is there a nation as great as ours, whose gods are as near to it as Yahweh our God is to us whenever we call upon Him? And is there a nation as great as ours, whose norms and laws are as just as this law which I give you today? But be careful and be on your guard. Do not forget these things which your own eyes have seen, nor let them depart from your heart as long as you live. But on the contrary, teach them to your children and to your children's children. You were in the presence of Yahweh at Mount Horeb when He spoke to me. Gather the people before me, that they may hear my words. Thus they will fear me as long as they live in that land, and will teach these words to their children. Then you came nearer and stood at the foot of the mountain. It was burning in flames, reaching up to heaven, amid the dense fog and the dark clouds. And Yahweh spoke to you from the midst of the fire. You heard the sound of words, but did not see any figure. You only heard a voice. And Yahweh spoke to you, that you might know His covenant, by which He commanded you to keep His 10 commandments, which He had written on 2 slabs of stone. And as for me, He commanded me to teach you the norms and laws, that you might put them into practice in the land which is going to be yours. Think well about what you are to do. You did not see any form on that day when Yahweh spoke to you at Mount Horeb from the midst of the fire. Therefore, do not become corrupted. Do not make an idol or a god carved in the form of a man or of a woman, or in the form of any animal that lives on the earth, or of any kind of bird that flies in the sky, or of any reptile that crawls on the earth, or of any fish that lives in the water under the earth. When you look at the heavens and you see the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the heavenly bodies, do not prostrate yourselves to adore and serve them as gods. Yahweh your God has left those for the rest of the peoples, but He has chosen you and has brought you from the fiery crucible, that is Egypt, to be His own people as you are now. Through your fault, Yahweh became angry with me, and He swore that I would not cross the Jordan, nor enter into the beautiful land which He gives you as an inheritance. I will die in this land and not be able to cross the Jordan. You in turn will cross over and possess that beautiful land. So be careful not to forget the covenant which Yahweh has made with you, and do not make any kind of idols, as Yahweh your God has commanded you. Know that Yahweh your God is a devouring fire. Yahweh is a jealous God. When you have children and grandchildren and have grown old in the land, do not be corrupted by having idols and doing that which offends Yahweh. If you anger Him, you will perish from the land which is going to be yours after crossing the Jordan. Heaven and earth are witness to my warning. You will all be destroyed. Yahweh will scatter you among the peoples, and only a few of you will remain among the nations where Yahweh will bring you. There you will be obliged to serve their gods, gods made by human hands, gods of wood and stone, which do not see or hear or eat or feel. There you will look for Yahweh your God, and you will encounter Him if you search for Him with all your heart and with all your soul in the midst of your anguish. When this happens in the last days, you will return to Yahweh, and you will listen to His voice, because Yahweh your God is a merciful God who will not reject you nor destroy you all, nor forget the covenant He swore to your fathers. Ask of the times past, inquire from the day when God created man on earth. Ask from one end of the world to the other. Has there ever been anything as extraordinary as this? Has anything like this been heard of before? Has there ever been a people who remained alive after hearing, as you did, the voice of the living God from the midst of the fire? Never has there been a God who went out to look for a people and take them out from among the other nations by the strength of trials and signs, by wonders and by war, with a firm hand and an outstretched arm. Never has there been any deed as tremendous as those done for you by Yahweh in Egypt, which you saw with your own eyes. You saw this that you might know that Yahweh is God, and that there is no other besides Him. He let you hear His voice from heaven, that you might fear Him. On earth He let you see His blazing fire, and from the midst of the fire you heard His word. Because of the love He had for your fathers, He chose their descendants after them, and He Himself made you leave Egypt with His great power. He expelled before you peoples more numerous and stronger than you, and He has made you occupy their land. Today He has given this to you as an inheritance. Therefore, try to be convinced that Yahweh is the only God of heaven and earth, and that there is no other. Observe the laws and the commandments that I command you today, and everything will be well with you and your children after you. So you will live long in the land which Yahweh your God gives you forever. Moses designated 3 cities at the other side of the Jordan on the east, where one who involuntarily kills his neighbor may find refuge, one who has never been his enemy before. He should flee into one of those cities and so save himself. These are the cities: Bezer on the desert plateau for the tribe of Reuben, Ramoth in Gilead for the tribe of Gad, and Golan in Bashan for the tribe of Manasseh. This is the law which Moses gave to the children of Israel. These are the precepts, decrees, and laws which Moses made known to the children of Israel after their departure from Egypt, at the other side of the Jordan, in the valley opposite Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, the king of the Amorites. This Sihon, who lived in Heshbon, was defeated by Moses and the children of Israel after their departure from Egypt, and they took possession of his land, as they had done with Og, the king of Bashan. The 2 Amorite kings ruled at the east of the Jordan, from Aroer at the boundary of the brook of Arnon up to Mount Sirion, also called Hermon, that is, the whole plain to the east of the Jordan up to the Dead Sea at the foot of Mount Pisgah. Deuteronomy chapter 5. Moses gathered the whole of Israel and said to them, Listen, Israel, to the laws and norms which I teach you this day. Learn them and be careful to put them into practice. Yahweh our God made a covenant with us in Horeb, and His covenant was not only with our fathers, but with us as well, who are all alive here today. Yahweh spoke with us face to face from the midst of the fire in the mountain. And I stood between Yahweh and you to transmit His word to you, since you could not go up the mountain for fear of the great fire. These were His words: I am Yahweh your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, the house of slavery. Do not have other gods before me. Do not have idols. Do not make any figure of things in the heaven, or here below on the earth, or in the waters under the earth. Do not kneel before them or worship them, because I, Yahweh, am your God, a jealous God who punishes the children until the 3rd and 4th generation for the wickedness of their parents who hate me. But I am merciful to the 1000th generation, to those who love me and obey my commandments. Do not take the name of Yahweh your God in vain, because Yahweh will not leave unpunished him who takes his name in vain. Take care to keep holy the Sabbath day, as Yahweh your God commands you. You have 6 days to work and do your tasks, but the 7th day is the day of rest in honor of Yahweh your God. Do not do any work, you or your child or your servant or your ox or your donkey or any of your animals. Neither will the foreigner who lives in your land work. Your servant will rest just like you. Remember that you were once enslaved in the land of Egypt, from where Yahweh your God brought you out with his powerful hand and outstretched arm. For that reason, Yahweh your God commands you to observe the Sabbath. Honor your father and your mother as Yahweh your God has commanded, and you will live long, and it will be well with you in the land which Yahweh your God gives you. Do not kill. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not give false testimony against your neighbor. Do not desire the wife of your neighbor. Do not covet the house of your neighbor, or his field, or his servant, or his ox, or his donkey, or anything that is his. These are the words of Yahweh said to the whole assembly on the mountain, which he spoke from the midst of the fire and the thick cloud. He said only this, and he wrote these words on the 2 slabs of stone which he gave to me. You heard that voice in the midst of darkness while the mountain was becoming resplendent. Then all the heads of the tribes together with the elders gathered around me and said, See, Yahweh our God has shown us his glory and greatness, and we have heard his voice from the midst of the fire. We now know that the word of Yahweh is life for man. We are nevertheless going to die, devoured by this terrible fire, if we keep listening to the voice of Yahweh our God. For who can remain alive after listening to the voice of the living God speaking from the midst of the fire, as he has now done for us? Better that you go nearer to hear all the things that Yahweh our God will say to you, then tell these to us, that we may put them into practice. Yahweh heard your words and said to me, I have heard what these people said, and they have spoken well. May they always have the same spirit. Fear me and observe all my precepts, that all may go well with you and with your children for all time. Rise up and tell them to return to their tents in the fields. But as for you, remain here with me, that I may teach you all the commandments, precepts and laws, which you have to teach, that they may put them into practice in the land that I will give them for their possession. Observe and carry out the things that Yahweh has commanded us. Do not turn aside from them, either to the right or to the left. Follow all the way which Yahweh has marked out for you, and you will live and be happy, and you will live long in the land you are going to conquer. Deuteronomy chapter 6. These are the commandments, the norms and the laws that Yahweh your God has commanded me to teach you, so that you may observe them in the land which is going to be yours. Fear Yahweh, observe his commandments all the days of your life, and his norms that I teach you today, so also for your children and your children's children, that they may live long. Listen then, Israel, observe these commandments and put them into practice. If you do this, you will be well, and you will multiply in this land flowing with milk and honey, as Yahweh, the God of your fathers, promised you. Listen, Israel, Yahweh our God is one Yahweh, and you shall love Yahweh your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. Engrave on your heart the commandments that I pass on to you today. Repeat them over and over to your children. Speak of them when you are at home and when you travel, when you lie down and when you rise. Brand them on your hand as a sign, and keep them always before your eyes. Engrave them on your doorposts and on your city gates. Do not forget Yahweh when He has led you into the land which He promised to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For He will give you great and prosperous cities which you did not build, houses filled with everything good which you did not provide, wells which you did not dig, vineyards and olive groves which you did not plant. So, when you have eaten and have been satisfied, do not forget Yahweh, who brought you out from Egypt, where you were enslaved. Fear Yahweh your God, serve Him, and call on His name when you have to swear an oath. Do not go after other gods. Do not serve any of the gods of the nations around you, because your God, who is in your midst, is a jealous God. And when He burns in anger, you shall disappear from the face of the earth. You shall not put Yahweh your God to the test, as you did in Massah. Observe the precepts, the commandments, and the norms that Yahweh has commanded you. You shall do what is right and good in the eyes of Yahweh, that you may be happy and may come to possess the splendid land which He swore to your fathers He would give you, after having destroyed all your enemies before you. And when your child asks you one day, what are these precepts, these commandments, and these norms which Yahweh has commanded us? You shall answer your child, we were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but Yahweh led us out of Egypt with prodigious deeds, and we have seen the great and wonderful things, the awesome marvels He has done against Pharaoh and all his people. And He took us out from there to lead us into the land which He promised to our fathers. Yahweh has commanded us to put into practice all these precepts and to fear Him our God. Because of this, we are happy and alive today, and we shall be perfect in His eyes if we observe and practice these commandments as He has told us to do. Deuteronomy chapter 7. When Yahweh your God has brought you into the land where you are going and which you will conquer, when He drives away before you many peoples, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, and the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations that are much more numerous and more powerful than you, when He has given them into your hand and you defeat them, you must destroy them all according to the law of anathema. Do not make any covenant with them or have compassion on them. Do not intermarry with them, giving your daughters to their sons or taking their daughters for your sons, because they would seduce your children to abandon Me and adore strange gods, for which the anger of Yahweh would burn against you, and then He would destroy you. On the contrary, this is what you must do. Destroy their altars and break their sacred pillars into pieces. Demolish their poles and burn their idols. You are a people consecrated to Yahweh your God. Yahweh has chosen you from among all the peoples on the face of the earth, that you may be His own people. Yahweh has bound Himself to you and has chosen you, not because you are the most numerous among all the peoples. On the contrary, you are the least. Rather, He has chosen you because of His love for you and to fulfill the oath He made to your fathers. Therefore, with a firm hand, Yahweh brought you out from slavery in Egypt, from the power of Pharaoh. So know that Yahweh your God is the true and faithful God. He keeps His covenant, and His love reaches to the 1000th generation for those who love Him and fulfill His commandments. but he punishes in their own persons those who hate him, and he repays them without delay. So keep the commandments, the norms, and the laws that today I command you to practice. If you observe these norms, if you keep and practice them, Yahweh will be faithful to his covenant and will show you the love he promised to your fathers. He will love you, bless you, and multiply you. He will bless you with many children and abundant harvests, wheat, wine, and oil. He will multiply the young of your cattle and of your sheep in the land that he promised your fathers he would give you. You shall be more favored than all the peoples. There will be no sterile male or female among your people or in your livestock. Yahweh will remove from you all infirmities. He will not let any of the plagues of Egypt which you have known fall upon you, but he will inflict them upon those who hate you. So destroy all the peoples which Yahweh your God will put in your path. Do not have pity on them or serve their gods. This would be a trap for you. Perhaps you will say in your heart, these nations are more numerous than I am. How then am I going to drive them away? Do not be afraid. Remember what Yahweh your God has done with Pharaoh and with the Egyptians, those terrible trials which you saw with your eyes, and the marvels and signs, the strong hand and outstretched arm with which Yahweh your God has freed you. He will do the same with all the people whom you fear. Yahweh will even send wasps to destroy those who remain and hide themselves to escape from you. Do not be afraid of them, because Yahweh your God is in your midst. He is a great and terrible God. It is He who will drive out these nations little by little before your eyes. If you were to destroy them all at once, the wild beasts would multiply and cause you trouble. Yahweh your God will give these people over to you, and He will fill them with fear until they all perish. Yahweh will give their kings into your hands, so that you may strike out their name from under heaven, and nothing will stand before you until you have destroyed them. Burn the images of their gods, and do not covet the gold or silver that covers them. Do not take it for yourself, lest you be trapped by it, because Yahweh hates it. None of these shall enter your house, for as they are accursed, the curse might return to you. Regard these as abominable, because they are indeed anathema or accursed. Deuteronomy chapter 8. Be careful to fulfill all the commandments which I give you today, that you may live and increase and conquer the land which Yahweh promised on oath to your fathers. Remember how Yahweh your God brought you through the desert for 40 years. He humbled you to test you and know what was in your heart, whether you would keep His commandments or not. He made you experience want. He made you experience hunger, but He gave you manna to eat, which neither you nor your fathers had known, to show you that man lives not on bread alone, but that all that proceeds from the mouth of God is life for man. Your garment did not even fray, or your foot swell all these 40 years. Understand then that Yahweh has taught you in the same way that a father teaches his child. Observe the commandments of Yahweh your God. Follow His ways and revere Him, for Yahweh your God will bring you into that good land, a land of streams and rivers, of subterranean waters that gush forth in the valleys and mountains, a land of wheat and barley, of grapes and figs, of pomegranates and olives, a land of oil and honey, a land where the bread you eat is not rationed and where you will lack nothing, a land with iron in stones and copper mines in the mountains. You shall eat until you are satisfied, and you shall bless Yahweh for the good land He has given you. So take care that you do not forget Yahweh your God by neglecting the commandments, norms and laws that I give you today. And when you have eaten and have been satisfied, when you have built comfortable homes and live in them, when your livestock have multiplied, when you have silver and gold in abundance and an increase of good things of every kind, then do not let your heart become proud and do not forget Yahweh your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, the house of slavery. It is He who has led you across this great and terrible desert, full of fiery serpents and scorpions, an arid land where there is no water. But for you He made water gush forth from the hardest rock, and He fed you in the desert with manna, which your fathers did not know. He made you experience want and put you to the test, so that it would be for your good later on, lest you say, with my own strength I have attained all these good things. Remember Yahweh your God, the one who gave you power to become prosperous as you are today, in fulfillment of the covenant He promised under oath to your fathers. But if you forget Yahweh and follow other gods, if you pay them homage and bow before them, I warn you right now that you will surely perish. In the same way that Yahweh destroyed the nations that stood in your way, so will He destroy you if you disobey Yahweh your God. Deuteronomy chapter 9. Listen, Israel, you are to cross the Jordan today to take the land of greater and stronger nations than yourself, nations with grand cities whose walls reach up to heaven. They are a great people, they are tall, the Anakites, whom you have seen, and of whom you heard it said that nothing can overcome them. But today you will see Yahweh your God crossing the Jordan before you. He will destroy them all, and He will subject them to you. Then you will seize the land from them and make them perish as Yahweh promised you. When Yahweh your God has destroyed them in your presence, do not think, Yahweh brought me to this land and gave it to me because of my own goodness. Yahweh drove those nations out because of their wickedness. It is not by your merits nor because you are good that you will conquer the land. Yahweh will deprive them of the land because they have done evil, and also to fulfill the promise He swore to your ancestors, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Know therefore that Yahweh has given you your inheritance, this excellent land, not because of any merit of yours, since you are a rebellious people. Remember and do not forget that it was because you rebelled that Yahweh became angry with you in the desert. For you have been rebellious towards Yahweh from the day you left Egypt until you arrived here. Then at Horeb you provoked His anger, and He was ready to destroy you. When I went up the mountain to receive the slabs of stone, the tables of covenant that Yahweh made with you, I stayed on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights without eating or drinking. And Yahweh gave me the 2 slabs of stone written with His finger, containing all the words that He told you on the mountain from the midst of the fire on the day of the assembly. And when Yahweh gave me the 2 slabs of stone, the tables of the covenant, At the end of the 40 days and 40 nights, he said to me, "Go down from this mountain at once, because your people whom you brought out of Egypt have become corrupt. They have suddenly abandoned the way that I taught them, and they have made an idol for themselves." And Yahweh also said to me, "I see these people, they are a rebellious people. Let me alone, and I will destroy them and wipe out their name from under heaven. And out of you I will make another people more numerous and greater than they." I therefore went down from the mountain, from the summit which was burning, holding in my hands the 2 tables of the covenant. And I saw that you had sinned against Yahweh your God, and that you had made a molten calf. How suddenly had you turned aside from the way which Yahweh had taught you? Holding the 2 slabs with both hands, I hurled them down and broke them into pieces in the sight of all. Then I fell prostrate before Yahweh, and as before, I passed 40 days and 40 nights without eating or drinking, for the sin which you had committed by doing evil in the sight of Yahweh and arousing his anger. I was afraid that the wrath and anger of Yahweh against you had reached the point that he wanted to destroy you. And Yahweh listened to me once more. Yahweh was also very angry with Aaron, and he was ready to destroy him. In the same way, I interceded for Aaron also. Regarding the sin, that calf which you had made, I threw it in the fire, broke it into pieces, and ground it until it was fine as dust. Then I threw the dust into the brook that flows down from the mountain. At Taberah and at Massa and at Kibroth Hattava, you provoked the wrath of Yahweh. And when he wanted you to leave Kadesh Barnea, saying, "Go up and take possession of the land that I have given you," you rebelled again. You did not believe Yahweh, nor did you want to listen to his voice. You have been rebellious against Yahweh ever since I have known you. So I lay prostrate before Yahweh for 40 days and 40 nights, because he said he would destroy you. I prayed to Yahweh and said to him, "O Lord God, do not destroy your people and your inheritance, whom you redeemed with your might, whom you brought out of Egypt with the strength of your hand. Remember your servants Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Do not look on the stubbornness of this people, or on their wickedness, or on their sins, that it may not be said in the land from which you brought us out, 'Yahweh was not able to bring them to the land which he had promised them. He does not like them, so he brought them out of Egypt to slay them in the desert.' Do not forget that they are your people and your possession, whom you brought out of Egypt with your great power and outstretched arm." Deuteronomy chapter 10. At that time Yahweh said to me, "Make 2 slabs of stone like the first ones, and come up to me, and make an ark of wood also. I shall write on the slabs the words that were on the first slabs which you broke. Then you shall put them in the ark of the covenant." So I made an ark of acacia wood, and made 2 slabs of stone like the first. And I climbed up the mountain carrying this. He wrote on the slabs, just as he had done with the first, the 10 sayings that he spoke to you on the mountain from the midst of the fire on the day of the assembly. And Yahweh gave them to me. Upon my return, coming down from the mountain, I placed the tables in the ark which I made, and there they are as Yahweh commanded me. The children of Israel left for the wells of Bene Jaakah, going through Mosera. Aaron died and was buried there, and his son Eleazar succeeded him. From there they went to Gadgoda, and from Gadgoda to Jotbahath, a land of brooks and springs. It was then that Yahweh set apart the tribe of Levi to carry the ark of the covenant, to become his servants, to stand before the Lord, and to give blessings by calling on his name, as they do until this day. For that reason, Levi has no share in the inheritance with his brothers. Yahweh is his inheritance, as Yahweh your God told him. I therefore stayed on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, as I did the first time. Yahweh again listened to my prayer and gave up his plan to destroy you. And Yahweh said to me, Rise up and lead this people, that they may go and take possession of the land which I swore to their fathers to give them as an inheritance. So now, Israel, what is it that Yahweh your God asks of you, but to fear him and follow all his ways? Love him and serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. Observe the commandments of Yahweh and his laws, which I command you today for your good. See, the heavens, those that are seen, and those that are unseen, the earth and all that is in it, everything belongs to Yahweh your God. Nevertheless, it was on your fathers that Yahweh set his heart. He loved them, and after them he chose their descendants, you, preferring you to all the peoples, as you can see this day. Purify your hearts, then, and do not be defiant towards Yahweh, because Yahweh is the God of gods and the Lord of lords. He is the great God, the strong and terrible God. When he judges, he treats everyone equally. He does not let himself be bought by gifts. He renders justice to the orphan and the widow, and loves the stranger, giving him bread and clothing. Love the stranger then, because you yourselves were strangers in the land of Egypt. Fear Yahweh, your God. Serve him, follow him, and call on his name when you have to make an oath. He is your pride, and he is your God, who has done those amazing things for you. When you went down to Egypt, your ancestors were no more than 70 persons. But now Yahweh your God has made you as many as the stars of heaven. Deuteronomy chapter 11. So love Yahweh your God, and observe all that he has commanded you, his laws, norms, and commandments. You, with whom I am speaking, understand all this. Perhaps this may be more difficult for your children who have not known the teaching of Yahweh or seen his greatness and strength. But you saw the signs and the marvels he did in Egypt against Pharaoh and all his land, and what he did to the army of Egypt, to their horses and chariots, when he buried them in the waters of the Red Sea, destroying them as they pursued us. Remember too all that Yahweh did for you in the desert until you came to this place, what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, from the tribe of Reuben, when the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them with all their families, their tents and their followers, in the midst of all Israel. You have seen with your eyes all these great wonders that Yahweh has done. Therefore, observe all these commandments that I give you, that you may gather strength and occupy the land which you are going over to possess. And you will live long in the land which Yahweh swore to give to your ancestors and to their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land you are to enter and possess is not like the land of Egypt which you left, where, after having sown your seeds, You had to water them like a vegetable garden with your feet on the water wheel, but a land of mountains and valleys, which drinks water from the rain that comes from the heavens. Yahweh your God cares for this land, and His eyes are constantly fixed on it from the beginning of the year until its end. If you truly obey the commandments that I give you today, if you love Yahweh and serve me with all your heart and with all your soul, I will give rain to your land in season, both in autumn and in spring, that you may harvest your wheat, wine, and oil. Your field will give you grass for your cattle, and you will eat until you are satisfied. But if you turn aside, if you serve other gods and bow before them, the anger of Yahweh will break out against you. He will close up the heavens, and it will cease to rain. The land will not yield its fruit, and you will suddenly perish in that beautiful land which Yahweh gives you. Engrave these words of mine on your heart and in your soul. Brand them on your hand as a sign, and keep them always before your eyes. Teach them to your children. Speak of them when you are at home and when you travel, when you lie down and when you rise. Engrave them on your doorposts and on your city gates. Then your days and the days of your children will be multiplied in the land which Yahweh swore to give to your fathers, and you will dwell in that land as long as the heavens are above the earth. For if you observe the commandments that I command you to practice, if you love Yahweh and follow His ways, clinging to Him, Yahweh will destroy all those nations before you, and you will seize the land from greater and more powerful nations. Every place where you set foot will be yours. Your territory will be from the desert up to Lebanon, and from the Euphrates River up to the western sea. No one will be able to stand against you. In all the land that you tread, Yahweh will make the peoples fear and be afraid when they hear of you, as He Himself has said. See that on this day I set before you a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of Yahweh that I command you today. A curse if you disobey these commandments and turn aside from the way that I show you now to follow strange gods which are not yours. When Yahweh your God has brought you into the land you are going to conquer, you shall set the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. Those mountains are at the other side of the Jordan, beyond the western road, in the land of the Canaanites who dwell in the Arabah, opposite Gilgal, near the oak of Moreh. Now you are going to cross the Jordan to take possession of the land which Yahweh gives you. You are to possess it and live in it, and be careful to carry out all the laws and precepts which I now set before you.